3 games to go and the Raiders are still in the hunt. Next up, a Christmas Day jingle at Arrowhead. Can Aidan O'Connell keep airing it out? And will the defense continue to dominate? Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs await right now on the Silver and Black Show. All is merry and bright because we've got former NFL MVP Rich Gannon on the show. Also, NFL Media's James Palmer stops by to break down the Chiefs and the Condor. Maxx Crosby sits down to talk defense, Walter Payton Man of the Year, and the race for NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome into the Silver and Black Show. I'm Theoharis. The Raiders are fresh off a mini bye, getting ready for a Christmas morning matchup with the Chiefs. The biggest question after that 63-point historic win over the Chargers is, can they look that convincing against a good team? The Chargers were on their last leg, one beatdown away from an entire regime change. The Raiders obliged. But the Chiefs are different, coming in as the number 3 seed in the AFC. The Raiders are the 12th seed, so the playoffs are a long shot. And if we're being real, the biggest storyline over these last 3 games is Aidan O'Connell. Can he not just be good or efficient, but consistently great? All winning organizations have a long-term answer at quarterback. Do the Raiders? Well, we don't know. In 2 of O'Connell's last 3 games, his passer rating has been over 110. That's elite. But the bad games have been bad. It'll be up to the even-keeled rookie to put 3 convincing performances on film. If he does, the Raiders just might check quarterback off their Christmas list. And the audition continues this Monday with O'Connell's second matchup against the Chiefs, who, by the way, will win the AFC West if they beat the Raiders. To talk about it, we say hello to NFL Media's James Palmer. James, what's happening, my friend? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Amber. I'm listening to this guest list on this show. I don't know how I'm on this show. I mean, Rich Gannon, Maxx Crosby, the Condor. I am gonna just pull up the caboose on this one.
Oh no, come on! Yeah, you're our first guest. You're the headliner. So let's start with Aidan O'Connell. Opening act. Well, either way, we'll make you feel good. Don't worry. Aidan O'Connell's kind of gone through both extremes since that 101 passer rating against the Chiefs. He had 0 points against the Vikings and 63 points against the Chargers. How do you think Steve Spagnuolo is going to attack this rookie?
From the secondary. I'm going to tell you right now, that's been the bread and butter, Amber, of Steve Spagnuolo this season. He has tremendous blitzers from the secondary. We know he loves to bring pressure. We know his calling card is that he's been so good at finding the right time to bring that pressure. But guys like Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed and guys in that secondary, they come at certain points of the game that make game-changing plays. And that's what they're going to try to do. Obviously, we know Chris Jones is a dominant force up front. They've really had a good plan of late, putting him and Charles Omenihu on the same side, making things difficult on offensive lines up front, and George Karlaftis on the other side. But it really is this secondary that kind of throws quarterbacks like Aidan O'Connell that don't have a ton of experience. That's where he likes to go after them and throw them for a loop when he brings these guys that are so patient and they disguise it so well with their safeties. That's what Aidan O'Connell is going to have to do. Try to find a tell within the safeties, whether these corners are coming or not, and then dissect it pre-snap and be able to go somewhere else with the football.
Think we're going to see a little man coverage, Devontae Adams, L'Jarius Sneed?
We're going to see it. We're going to see it. They don't play a whole lot of man, but what they do is have L'Jarius Sneed travel with number 1 wide receivers. They didn't really, and I did this game at Arrowhead a couple of weeks ago, they barely double teamed Stephon Diggs. They literally just told L'Jarius Sneed, you take care of Diggs, we'll take care of everything else. And that could be the route that they go. L'Jarius Sneed might be one of the best cornerbacks in football that nobody talks about. We all know the other group at the top. We hear their names repeatedly. We don't really ever hear L'Jarius Sneed's name in there, and they have tremendous confidence in him following around to number 1. Did it with Diggs. I could see him doing it in this game as well.
Oh, that's a Christmas gift just to watch that matchup. The Raiders' offense really showed another dimension, granted against a beatdown Chargers defense. But after those 2 Trey Tucker touchdowns last week, do you think defensive coordinators have to respect O'Connell's deep ball capability and the speed that a guy like Tucker has?
You have to. And you know why? Because of the way the game's going this season. Like, the explosive plays are down across the league. And it's the way these teams are playing deep. They're playing these, Vic Fangio has ruined the NFL in some people around the NFL's mind, right? It's death by 1,000 paper cuts are the way defenses are playing. They don't want to give up explosive plays. So I think when you can put it on film, and I know Spags has shown his group this, that you can't let anything get beat over your head. It's what the Chiefs were dominant in for several years, and it allowed their offense to operate the way it did because you always have a fear of explosive plays. When you have that out there, you have the ability to open up your offense and find holes in other spots as long as the team fears it. There's a lot of teams that aren't going downfield this season. It's just something that's been very difficult to do. When you can do it, it opens up everything else because you have to have the concern of your safeties having that concern of speed. And if anybody understands what speed does to an offense and the bind it puts a defense in, I think Steve Spagnuolo understands that when he had to deal with Tyreek Hill and watch how teams tried to handle him for a number of years in Kansas City.
Yeah, he remembers that. Josh Jacobs, though, I mean, that's the bread and butter of the Raiders offense. He's the only running back to rush for over 100 yards against the Chiefs this season. The Chiefs' rush defense has been good. Antonio Pierce, he's pretty optimistic that we're going to see Josh out there. Who has the edge in the ground game in that battle?
Oh man, he is such a good back, and you want him as healthy as possible. When you're talking about matchups, you want to go out and see, right? You want to see that one on the outside, or whether it moves around between receiver and corner. You also want to see Josh Jacobs healthy, and I do think the difference maker for the Chiefs is Nick Bolton in the middle of the field. He's one of the better linebackers in football against the run, getting sideline to sideline, his speed. He's kind of the leader of that group. If they can close up the run early, and that's kind of been their I don't want to say their calling card, but it's been their game plan, essentially in a lot of these games early, because this offense has been putting them in holes early. The offense has actually been putting this team in holes early. Like, if before that game against New England that I was at, like they were getting down 14-0, 14-3, 14-0. They're getting themselves in holes early on, and then teams have the ability to focus on the run more because the Chiefs are trying to play from behind. So that's one of the things I know Kansas City wants to do, is make sure they stop the run early in this game specifically, so they don't get behind early and let a team focus on the run.
You're right. They got behind in the Raiders early in that first matchup, but then came back.
Yeah, that was 14-0.
That's right, 14-0 lead. The offense is definitely the Achilles heel, and I thought we'd never say that about the Chiefs, but Patrick Mahomes has thrown I say that about a first-place team, so I got to be fair, but Patrick Mahomes has thrown 4 interceptions in his last 3 games. So much of that, if you're watching the games, is on the receivers. Is there a lack of trust right now, especially with a lack of a reliable third receiver, it feels like, for Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, Amber. Like, I don't know if this is like displayed well in my here little home studio, but what you see from Patrick Mahomes right now is like, and he's like, I don't, that's a trust thing, right? When he pulls it back down and he hesitates in a sense, that's a trust factor. And I know that he's been dealing with that for a good portion of the season. It was really Travis Kelce, Justin Watson, and really maybe Noah Gray, the other tight end, were the guys that he really trusted. Rashee Rice has become that other player that he does trust. Keep an eye on Kadarius Toney's snaps going down in this game. That's no shocker to anyone. I don't think I'm breaking any news. But what they've really looked for specifically is what Juju Smith-Schuster did a season ago, which was be that player that takes advantage of the attention Travis Kelce gets and finding a way to make some yards after the catch and make some plays on your own. Rashee Rice, the rookie, is really the one that stepped into that. He's led this team in targets, I think, each of the last 4 games. He's really been the go-to guy most recently, and the guy that the trust that you mentioned has finally started to build with somebody else, because I'll be honest, teams have been doing a really good job on Travis Kelce of late. The amount of attention he's getting is the same, but it's still, teams are executing a little bit better, mainly because they don't have to worry about explosive plays over their head, which is something that you can just focus more on Travis Kelce if you don't have to worry about getting beat over the top as much. And they haven't had a guy to step into that spot that I mentioned. It's Rashee Rice is the guy who's stepping in there. A third option, I don't know. That's probably out of the backfield. Jet McKinnon of late. Remember last year down the stretch, he was really a screen guy, a third option for Patrick Mahomes and when things broke down. That could be the one that's emerged of late. They slow played him for a large part of this season, being a running back at his age with the knee issues he's had. he's kind of come on recently. I just think they're happy to get a second option.
Yeah, and Rashee Rice,
third
as you
right
said,
now with the way Patrick Mahomes is feeling, might be greedy for his sense.
Yeah, well, he does have Rashee Rice, as you said. He's really emerged. But going back to Travis Kelce, and I don't want to hear Taylor Swift conspiracy theories. Why aren't we seeing Travis Kelce be Travis Kelce this year? This might just be your own opinion.
Yeah, there's a few things that play into this, honestly. There was always the thought that this offense was going to change its identity this season. And that's the one thing that they were kind of seeking and trying to figure out. You know what a big part of it is? Running the football. It's Isaiah Pacheco who comes back for this game. He's expected to be back from this game. He had a minor shoulder cleanup and he missed 2 weeks. But running the football more and more consistently, I'm not saying Travis is a bad blocker, but he's not really its forte. And so when you run the football a little bit more, the passing game isn't leaned on as much. And the part that I mentioned, the lack of explosive plays. Like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce playing off of one another is a big part of the reason why the both of them found space. MVS going downfield isn't really a threat to defenses right now. Like Patrick is not taking the top off the defense at all. So defenses are going even further closer to Travis Kelce because they know they don't have to worry about anything over the top. And there is I don't want to say this about maybe arguably the greatest tight end of all time, but there's some buzz around the league that like Travis has maybe lost a little bit of a step. I mean, he is getting up there in age, and he is unbelievably durable throughout his career. The other side of that is, Amber, right? Like he's played a boatload. Like he's never really missed time. So there is a little bit of a thought of like, teams have kind of figured some things out, and Travis isn't moving as well as they've seen him in years past.
Well, okay, I'm glad you didn't mention Taylor Swift. I was just ready to hear that thrown in.
I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to go there.
You weren't going to go there. Okay. The Raiders.
Although I spotted her at the game.
You would be one of those people that would run up and Taylor, Tay.
Well, no, I was doing this. I was in the tunnel. Like is this? I was in the tunnel, and there's the Bills, Josh Allen, and I got my phone out, and I'm like, oh, I'm right in the tunnel. There's Josh Allen, and then I just turn this way, and then Taylor Swift walks right by me.
You were cool.
Into the tunnel.
You
and
stayed
like,
cool.
The Bills don't even notice. The Bills don't even care. Like they're just like, and I hear one guy in the offensive huddle go, was that Taylor Swift?
That was
like
it.
Right next to their huddle.
That was it.
Walking to her seat. Yeah.
The Raiders defense.
Unintentional.
Yeah. All right. Well, glad you got it on camera. The Raiders defense doesn't give up a lot of points. They can force multiple turnovers in a game. They've proven that. Is there a buzz in the Chiefs locker room that, gives that unit some respect?
Oh, big time. Big time. And it's mainly because the Chiefs have had these issues. Turnovers in costly points of games, and specifically their issues in the red zone. And when you play the way the Raiders have played in terms of taking the football away, there's almost that little bit of edge with the Chiefs where it's like, you saw the one in the flip out from Patrick Mahomes that went off Kadarius Toney's hands. Remember, they had more turnovers in that game against the Patriots than actually occurred, because I believe one was called back, possibly two. And so they have a little bit of that sense in them, Kansas City, that we need to protect the football and we're not doing it. And when you kind of have that, everybody plays a little bit tighter. That's kind of one of the concerns when I talk to people in Kansas City, is that we can't let guys play tight. And that's what's happening when some of these turnovers are occurring. Like, Amber, you said it best. It's not like Mahomes is throwing these terribly ill-advised footballs. It's that balls are going off guys' hands. The offense isn't completely in sync, and guys aren't exactly where Patrick thinks they're going to be. That's where the turnovers happen. And then when we mentioned the slow starts, getting behind, then you play tighter later in the game. A lot of times that's when some of these turnovers happen, and a lot of their issues have happened down in the red zone. And I do think when everything is tighter down there and you don't have as much room to work, when you have a team that is able to turn the football over, you have cause for concern. There is definitely going to be respect for this Raiders defense.
All right, James, well, look forward to, hopefully, I don't know if this is your assignment this week, but seeing you out there at least, or seeing you here in Vegas for the Super Bowl. And I still am going to get the story from Rich Gannon, who's coming up after you, about how a kid from Philadelphia, and I know he's from Philadelphia, ended up with a bubble hockey or a bumper car game that was
Bumper pool table. You can
bumper pool table.
Pool table.
It's going to be my first question to Rich Gannon. I'm sure he really remembers you.
He'll have no idea how I acquired it.
James Palmer, happy holidays to you and the family. Thanks for coming on the Silver and Black Show.
You too, Amber.
All right, coming up, he's one of the most feared defenders on the field and one of the most loved agents of change off the field. We sit down with Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee Maxx Crosby next. The Silver and Black Show is powered by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. 1800 Tequila, official partner of the Raiders. Taste is everything. Please drink responsibly. Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Las Vegas Raiders and the NFL. Welcome back. There is nobody that is more fun to watch play football in the National Football League because he has so much heart. Maxx Crosby, thanks for joining us here on the Silver and Black Show.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, you always have been energetic and outspoken since we've known you, but this year it really feels like the Raiders have become your team as the undeniable emotional leader. How has your role evolved?
I feel like just over the years, I've evolved more and more as a person. I've fully embraced who I am. I know exactly who I am as a man and as a husband, as a leader, as a human being in general. So I just fully embrace myself. I don't try to shy back from anything. I don't try to be anything I'm not. I'm just 100% me all the time, and I just want to lead by example. And so the guys feel me every single day. They see how I work, and then on top of it, I'm just myself. Like I bring. I say I'm first team all energy every single day.
That's undeniable.
Yeah. And I hold the coaches accountable too. I mess with Pat all the time. I'm like, Pat, what's up? It's 7 a.m. Everyone's tired. I'm like, what's up? I was talking this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning on walkthrough. And that's just kind of how I am. I try to bring everybody's level up in any way I can and relate to everybody in their own way, because you got 53 guys on a team, you got a bunch of different coaches, everybody gets motivated in different ways, and that's the special challenge about being a leader, is that tap into every single person on a different level. So it's been special.
Well, you definitely rub off on your defense. We've seen that for sure. But talk about lows and highs this year. I have never seen a team, I've been covering this game a long time, go through so many emotions. It was frustration, transition, elation, back to frustration, then 63 points out of nowhere. I mean, this has been all over the place. What have you learned about this group of men through all of this?
I would honestly just say this group is super resilient. We've had 6 games under AP. We're 3-3. The games we've lost have been close. The games we've won have been blowouts, basically. So it just shows where we can go and where we're going. We got a special group of guys. Everyone's buying into what our main focus is. And at this point of the season, it comes down to execution and effort. I write in my journal every single day. That's, in December, everyone knows what everyone's doing. Everybody's seen enough film. Everyone knows who the best players are, who we got to key in on. It's who's going to execute the best and who's going to have the most effort at this time of the year. So for us, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on right now, focused on improving every single day, and we're going out there and, improving every day.
You journal?
Yeah, for sure.
What type of things do you write in there?
Yeah, I write things in my notes every single day, in meetings, but also just in my phone. Like if I see something I really like, I take note of it, I write it down. It could be from an interview, it could be from anything. And it's just stuff that I constantly like to remind myself with. I'm a visual learner and I'm a visual person in general. So back of my screen, like on my phone, I see the same thing every single day. It's just little things that I like to feed my brain with, because your brain is your most important muscle in your body, and you got to feed it with great energy and great positivity at all times. So that's just kind of what I try to push to the guys. Like if you're thinking negative, most likely something negative is going to come from it. If you're thinking positive, great things can come from it. And so for me, you try to find that positive in every situation, no matter if it's good or bad. Like we lost to the Vikings, we lost 3-0. The whole world is collapsing. Oh my God, get rid of this dude, fire him. But it's everyone's panic mode, and we're just like, all right, whatever. 4 days from now, we're gonna switch that narrative.
And
that's exactly what we did. So that's our main focus. Is like, there's a lot of chaos on the outside, but inside you gotta stay positive and keep improving and finding ways to do that. Especially this long, grueling season, you just gotta find ways to get better.
You always find ways to include Antonio Pierce whenever we're talking to you.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody loves him. Why?
He's authentic. You're not getting any gray area with AP. He's himself. He's 100% himself every single day. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. It's just black and white. This is what we're doing. This is how I'm going to move. This is how we're going to play as a team. And we go out there and do it. And we love him because, for a lot of reasons, but at the same time, like, he's, he played the football at a high level. He played in the NFL. He was a captain in the NFL. So he can relate to the players and understand where we're coming from. If we have something that we feel like needs to be addressed or something like that. So he keeps an open line of communication, and he's just doing his best, with what he's been dealt, because it's not easy. He didn't expect to be a head coach halfway through the season. If you'd have told him that before the year, you'd probably be like, no way in hell. But he stepped up. He hasn't blanked. And nobody else has blanked, and we just continue to improve.
I'll tell you who an unsung hero is Patrick Graham. You guys have a top 9 scoring defense this season. What has been the biggest reason for this unit's success?
I feel like the communication has been at an all-time high, starting with the D-line all the way throughout the defense. Everybody is communicating at a high level, which is super important in the NFL. We're closer as people. I know as the D-line, we go out every single Thursday. We have dinners at a different place, whether it's somebody's house or a restaurant or whatever. Like, our group is super tight, and I feel like that bleeds through the whole team. And that just, it's a direct reflection of what Pat, preaches. Pat is brilliant. He knows his X's and O's. He's been more comfortable in his own skin this year, just being confident in himself and what he, believes is going to help us win. And the guys are believing in him, and we just feed off it. We have a lot of leaders on our side of the ball, and you just see us, fighting to be the one to make the play. And that's when you have guys, fighting like that want to be the guy, it's going to lead to good results.
Against the Chargers, you got a lot of attention like you do by all offensive linemen, but what does it say about, you just mentioned how close you and your defensive linemen are. What does it say about Malcolm Koonce and Jerry Tillery and Tyree and Adam Butler, who all either pressured the quarterback or got sacks that game?
Yeah, it's huge. Every single day we go out on the field, we're working on the same things. We're working on our get-offs, we're working on our hand placement, we're working on how we're going to execute certain games and things like that. And for me, like, obviously I hear rumblings all the time, like, Max has no help and this and blah, 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 all these narratives and things like that. And I hate hearing it because I love these dudes. And, like, obviously, yeah, everybody wants to have 10 Pro Bowlers around them, but that's not reality. And we're all NFL players. There's no excuses for anything. At the end of the day, these guys are more than capable of playing at a very high level, and everybody's starting to see that. So for me, seeing guys like Malcolm, like you said, Adam, John Jenkins, Bilal, AB, like all these guys stepping up and playing at a super high level is the greatest thing for me, because I'm their biggest fan. You know what I mean? I want them to have as much success, as they want to do. So it's great to see everybody coming together, and it's really a race to the quarterback every single week now. Yeah.
You told me, I think last time we sat down, that you want to change the world. And how much did the changes you made in your life a few years ago help you believe that change is possible, not just for you, but the entire world now?
Yeah, for me, my story is unique. Everybody's had, trials and tribulations in their life. But for me, everybody's there's one Maxx Crosby, there's one, there's one Antonio Pierce, there's one of everybody. But for me, like, if I can make a change, and if it's tiny or if it's huge, I'm making a difference. And that's what it is for me. I love to tell my story because I know somebody else has gone through it, or currently going through it. And, for me, I'm a recovering addict, 2-star recruit. One offer, nobody expected me to be here besides myself. And I'm not saying I knew I was going to be in this position exactly, but I always believed in myself no matter what everybody else said. So for me, my story is it's an underdog story. I try to tell everybody, whatever everybody else's opinion does not matter. Just be yourself, believe in yourself, keep people around you that think the same. You could accomplish anything in the world, and that's my that's my story, and that's my that's my calling card for everything.
It's so inspirational. I can't let you go without talking about this Chiefs game. I know you guys want to change the narrative against the Chiefs.
No doubt.
And it's on Christmas Day. Just a few weeks ago, though, we saw Travis Kelce really hurt you guys with some chunk plays.
Yeah. He
really got going and got comfortable. What makes him so difficult to contain, even when defenses know what he's going to do?
It's a credit to the whole team. Mahomes and Kelce are great. They've proven it. They've won Super Bowls, multiple of, and they're both going to be Hall of Famers. But at the end of the day, if we want to beat them, which that's what our plan is, we got to go out there and get after their ass. No matter if it's Mahomes or the running backs or Kelsey, it doesn't matter. We got to get after them. We respect them, but we're not fearful of them. We're not scared. We just got to go out there and hunt them down, and that's what we plan on doing.
Patrick Mahomes has clearly been frustrated with his receivers at times. You have a knack for getting under his skin. How do you play into that out on the field?
For me, no matter who it is, if it's Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Russell Wilson, whatever, I'm gonna try to bother them in every way I possibly can. So I know the first time we played, I wasn't at my 100% health. I'm not making excuses at all. It's just the truth. So I'm definitely looking forward to be at my absolute best and to bother him and disrupt him the entire game.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you guys on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas to you and your family, and happy holidays.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Ahead on the Silver and Black Show, former NFL MVP Rich Gannon stops by to give his thoughts on Aidan O'Connell, the Raiders' big playability, and why no one should be fooled by Patrick Mahomes' down year. Next. Welcome back. When the Raiders face the Chiefs on Christmas Day in Kansas City, the challenge will be keeping up the momentum they set on Thursday Night Football against the Chargers 11 days prior. To talk about it, we bring in former NFL MVP Rich Gannon. Rich, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, Shelley, and the girls, who I imagine are making their way back home.
Yeah, Amber, we're looking forward, obviously, to the game this weekend. Of course, Christmas and a nice, exciting finish to what I think is going to be a great regular season. You look at a number of teams that are 7-7. We have teams that are 6-8 still battling for an opportunity to make the postseason. I think it's important to go into the postseason with some confidence and momentum. And there are a number of teams out there, including the Chiefs, that aren't exactly on a roll right now.
Yeah, and the Raiders are one of those teams that could end the season with 9 wins if everything goes right. I said, though, Rich, earlier in the show, that every winning organization has a long-term answer at quarterback. We're going to see Aidan O'Connell in his 8th start. Do you think he could be the long-term answer based on what you've seen?
Amber, I think there are encouraging signs. Let me just throw out some numbers that I think are relevant. In the last 3 years alone, we have fired 22 head coaches. We have 20 new offensive coordinators this year. We had 10 rookie quarterbacks start games. We've had close to 60 different starting quarterbacks start a game. There is so much turnover in our profession. And the reason there is so much turnover, owners are firing head coaches because they don't have quarterbacks. Bill Belichick could be out this year in New England. Why? Because the quarterback room isn't right. And that is a big story, the lack of development at that position. I am excited and encouraged by Aidan O'Connell. As you know, I did all the preseason games. I think there's a lot of the qualities and intangibles that you look for in the quarterback position that he has. I think he's accurate. I think he's got good footwork when the protection's been good. I think he's a guy that shows great poise. I think he's a quarterback that when he makes a mistake, he's able to quickly turn the page and come back. I think so much of what happens at the quarterback position is impacted by what's going on around him. I mean, you think about the changes, obviously the head coach, the coordinator change, that has an impact on a young developing player. Injuries along the offensive line, their inability to run the ball as effectively as they did last year with Josh Jacobs. I mean, there are a number of reasons why maybe his numbers aren't as exciting and eye-popping as you'd hope, but I think the guy has been pretty steady. And I think there's some real upside when you look at Aidan O'Connell.
You know, and I want to be fair, Rich, you were a late bloomer. You can't really definitively judge a rookie quarterback after just this small sample size. So I do want to be fair to him. But just overall, as you look at this Raiders team, what has surprised you the most, whether it's good or bad, from this Raiders team in 2023?
I think I'm just disappointed once again with the lack of consistency. And that's really what it's about. I mean, there's moments where you see them play so well. What they did to the Chargers the last time out, I mean, they gave them a major beatdown. And yet, they lose to teams where you think they've got a chance to win. The second half against the Miami Dolphins, they played really well, and then they come out in the second half, Aiden throws 3 interceptions, and they just really struggle. I think their performance away from Las Vegas has me concerned. They're 1-5 on the road. They've not been a very competitive team on the road. I think they're, as we've talked about in the past, I think right now they're currently a -5 in the turnover ratio. So they're giving the ball away, and they're not taking it away as much defensively. And I just think when I look at the overall team, there are a handful of players that really get my attention. Obviously, Maxx Crosby is one of them. And I just had an exchange with him the other day, and I said, if everybody played with your same energy, your same passion, your same toughness, your same leadership, the Raiders would never lose a game. So we have to find ways to get more players that are engaged, that are committed like Maxx Crosby. And I think, to me, that's the biggest challenge that the organization has moving forward. Let's get the right players in the building that love the work, that love the grind, that love the preparation, that take a great deal of pride in going out and playing their best football each and every week.
I'll tell you, one of those players that I think the Raiders really did hit on was the rookie, Michael Mayer, the tight end, in my opinion. And as a quarterback, how can Aiden O'Connell and Bo Hardegree, over these next 3 games, put Michael Mayer in a position to succeed? Because I feel like we're seeing little glimpses that we're getting excited about. We want to see more.
Yeah, and I don't want to compare Michael Mayer to who you're going to see on Sunday, Travis Kelce. I think they're different players. But I think the Chiefs do a great job of moving Travis Kelce around. You see him as an inline player. You see him in the slot. You see him outside the numbers. I think as Michael Mayer's game continues to evolve and develop, I think we're going to see the Raiders move around more, create more mismatches, more opportunities against linebackers in space, have him be able to really win in the middle of the field. Great tight ends have the ability to win in the middle of the field. On third down in the red zone. And I think his game's going to continue to evolve where we see him more, not necessarily as an inline tight end, but a guy that we can line up in the slot, we can line up outside the numbers, and we can motion around. So, again, another young player that I'm really excited about when you look at this Raiders offense.
Nobody's going to change their entire offensive philosophy based on one 63-point game where the Chargers basically rolled over and played dead before their coach got fired. But with Josh Jacobs out, and without that, I don't want to say pressure, but kind of that identity they usually have of feeding number 8 the ball 20-plus times, Hardegree went to a more pass-first offense at times, using the speed to stretch the field and using Aiden O'Connell's deep ball ability. What can we take away from that to maybe mesh with the identity they have as a run-first team?
Well, listen, I think it'd be a huge mistake when you look at the matchup this weekend against the Chiefs to get away from that identity, that toughness. I think when the Raiders have played their best football, it's when they've had the ability to kind of instill their will and just run the football. And I think off of that comes the big plays off of play action. But I think when you look at the Chiefs, you better be able to run the football against this group. I think the other key is going to be to anticipate, recognize, and handle the pressure packages that you're going to see from Steve Spagnuolo. And I think finally for Aiden O'Connell, I think situationally, they're going to be good on third down. An area where the Raiders haven't been great. I think currently right now they're 25th. They're converting about 35%. And they got to be able to finish drives in the red zone. You know, when you go up against a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, Amber, every possession matters. You've got to think to yourself, we've got to come away with points every time we have the football. And if we kick the ball, it's got to, we got to, advance. We have kick for extra points, a kick for field goals, and punt them deep down into their territory. That's got to be the mindset, I think, when you go up against a offense like the Chiefs have, even though they're not firing on all cylinders. But I still believe, to get back to your question, they have to be able to come out and be physical with this Chiefs front seven. I think it starts with running the football.
You have played in AFC West rivalries. You played at Arrowhead. Where does it compare as far as playing a division leader in December? I mean, that place, I've covered a lot of games there. Arrowhead is a fun place to be.
It is. And I just think that, this game matters. I think it's so important for the Raiders when you look at what lies ahead. They've got an opportunity to knock off the Chiefs this weekend. That would be a big accomplishment, a feather in the cap of the Chiefs. And then they've got the Colts and the Broncos. If somehow they could win 3 games and get to 9-8, they go into the offseason with a lot of confidence and momentum. And I would make the point, my first season with the Raiders, we did the same thing. We finished the season strong. We went into the offseason. We came back the following year. We went 12-4. We won the division, went to the AFC Championship game. I think these next 3 games matter. And when you look at the Chiefs, if they're able to win the game, that would be their 8th straight division title. And I just think that the Raiders have to keep that in the back of their mind. This is an opportunity to get after a team that has had their number over the last 8 seasons.
Going up against the Chiefs, do you think that the Raiders need to be very careful not to play into what I think is a false narrative that Patrick Mahomes is having a down year? I mean, we talked to James Palmer earlier in the show about those recent interceptions. A lot of those were on the receivers. I mean, do you have to go in there really believing that you're playing a playoff caliber Patrick Mahomes?
I think you do. I think you have to take into consideration that, he's one of the elite quarterbacks in our profession. The numbers certainly are off compared to what we normally see from him. I think he's thrown 25 touchdowns. He's got the 13 interceptions. I think one of the reasons they've struggled is the perimeter. The wide receiver group has let them down. I think they lead the National Football League in drops. Even Travis Kelce's production, Amber, here the last 6 or 7 weeks. I don't see the explosiveness. I don't see the change of direction. I don't see him creating a lot of separation. So I think that could be, I don't want to say a favorable matchup, but I think the Raiders can do some things structurally to limit his volume and his opportunities. But I just think that you got to respect Patrick Mahomes and his ability to create and manufacture offense when things break down around him. But they got some injuries. Left tackle's banged up. The right tackle has struggled all season long. I think there's some favorable matchups, and there's a good opportunity for the Chiefs to get after Patrick Mahomes this weekend.
You mentioned Steve Spagnuolo, great defensive coordinator. What advice do you give to AOC if he is going to be able to win this game, especially with that secondary? We've talked a lot about that on this show. What does he need to do to go up against Steve Spagnuolo?
It is a good secondary. Snead, McDuffie are good corners. They have good safety play. We all know about Chris Jones. But I've got great respect for Steve Spagnuolo, and I think he does a great job, changing up the looks, mixing in pressures. And as I said for Aiden O'Connell, the key is going to be to anticipate where they're going to show up, recognize it, and have a plan. Have tools in your toolbox to handle the pressure, not just to get rid of it, but to change the protection, block them up, and take a shot down the field. Make Steve Spagnuolo pay for bringing pressure. And I think that's the next step in Aiden O'Connell's growth and development as a young quarterback. Not just to sit back there and be a punching bag for Steve Spagnuolo, but to get, there's 2 types of quarterbacks, Amber. I always say those that feel pressure and those that apply pressure. And Aiden O'Connell needs to apply pressure against Steve Spagnuolo and this Chiefs secondary. It starts with anticipating where the pressure is going to show up, recognize it, and having a plan and communicating that plan to the other 10 players. That's going to be important. As I said to you, 3rd down is a big down versus the Chiefs, and that's where a lot of these pressures are going to show up.
Well, Rich Gannon, you certainly were the latter, one that applies pressure, but also I bet you didn't know you were quite generous. As I said, NFL Media's James Palmer was on the show before you. He was just a sportscaster's kid growing up in Philadelphia. Somehow he ended up with Rich Gannon's bumper pool, which I didn't even know what toy that was. But did you have a bumper pool that somehow ended up, did you even know this story? I promised James Palmer I would ask you about it. It ended up with our first guest on the show.
I did have a bumper pool. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe my parents put it in the garage sale without letting me know, but I wouldn't mind getting it back.
Well, I'm going to tell James Palmer to give Rich Gannon his bumper pool back, but we're going back to the early 80s with that one. So, Rich, thanks so much for joining this show. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Amber, you're the best. Thanks so much.
Always a pleasure. Coming up, and one last thing, as the Raiders take a hard look at their roster going forward, what might they find? We break down all of that next on the Silver and Black Show. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com. Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead. Time now for one last thing. No team wants to be in the let's see what we have for next year mode. That usually means the playoffs are a no-go. While the Raiders are mathematically still alive, these last 3 games are about evaluation.
Every day is an audition. National Football League, everybody's on a day-to-day, minute-by-minute contract because we can all get fired, at the blink of an eye. So that's how we approach today. Guys know it. Take advantage of your opportunities, and he did just that.
Well, the Raiders should feel pretty good knowing they just might have some dudes. Rookie tight end Michael Mayer has not only proven to be the big body threat in the red zone we expected, he's turning into a chunk play machine. In his last 4 games, he's averaging over 12 yards of reception. That's a first down every time.
The more the season goes along, the easier the offense goes for me, the easier making plays becomes because I'm so more comfortable and I have more confidence in myself. And I got more confidence in Aiden, too, that he's going to give me the ball, put it where I need to be put, and things like that.
And how about Trey Tucker? When Josh Jacobs was out against the Chargers and Bo Hardegree said, let's put some speed on the field, the rookie receiver had 2 touchdowns. He's not there quite yet, but could he be the next Cheetah?
I studied a lot of Tyreek Hill, obviously, similar type, so just kind of understanding how he does things and kind of applying it to my game. And when they put certain stuff in here for me, just go out there and execute.
And while first-round draft pick Tyree Wilson is looking more comfortable playing on the inside, can we give a little love to a non-rookie? Third-year pass rusher Malcolm Kuntz is the rising star we didn't know we needed, wrecking havoc on quarterbacks. The man has emerged the last 6 weeks, posting 4 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. Maxx Crosby has been paying attention.
Malcolm Kuntz, I could go on and on, but again, we've been talking about him, more and more as this, as the weeks gone by. But Malcolm's stepping up big time, bro. 2 strip sacks, one of them led to Jenkins' touchdown, and he been balling.
We can't leave out the veteran bangers out there thumping dudes on defense this year. First-year Raiders Marcus Epps, who just knocked Justin Jefferson out of a game, and Robert Spillane. They both bring the kind of toughness that can only rub off on their teammates. Add these players in with the Raiders' all-world superstars like Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Maxx Crosby, and the foundation of this roster looks pretty strong for 2024. That'll do it for this edition of the Silver and Black Show. We'll see you Christmas morning live from Arrowhead. It's Raiders Chiefs. Kickoff is set for 10 a.m. Pacific. Be sure to catch Raiders Game Day for all your post-game action afterward. Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.